KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to KNON.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.
What a game! What a game!
Jim Schutze with Get Off My Lawn. We got some good stuff to talk about this week about gas and oil drilling and a thing that came to light right at the end of the week, which is a secret deal that the city manager entered into 5 years ago with a gas company. I'll give you a chapter and verse on that. It's really got them hopping at City Hall. I want to remind you first, though, that this is our pledge drive at KNON. You all have been very generous in the past with KNON and with this show in particular, and I hope you'll keep it up for this drive. This is how we stay on the air. We absolutely have to have your help. It's expensive to run this place, even though we talkers and DJs are all volunteer and unpaid. The station still has big set costs that they have to meet, and they depend entirely on you for that. So call us up at 972-647-1893, 972-647-1893. KNON has a bunch of stuff they give you when you pledge at different levels. I think it's way better than anything you could get on any other pledge drives in the vicinity. I'm not naming any, but this is a great place to pledge your money if you're going to pledge it. You hear me leafing through my envelope here, so I'm going to get out my list of all the good stuff you get in return. But mainly, you keep us on the air, and in this atmosphere in Dallas, I've said this many times before here, this is a very controlled media town. It is what we in the media business, we misuse the term a little, but this is called a monopoly town. That's because there's only one daily newspaper. And you might say, well, that's not a monopoly. There's still lots of other stuff going on, and you'd be right. But there's a food chain in the news business, and it tends to be fed by the daily newspapers because they are the ones that can afford to have a lot of reporting teams out there working. And when you have more than one daily newspaper, there's competition between the papers, and it keeps them honest. They're worried about getting your eyeballs on the page, so they're worried about you and what you want to know. When you only have one newspaper, they're not so worried. They figure you don't have any other place to go. And then they have all kinds of other things they want to do. They want to bring you the party line on stuff. It kind of turns into like the old Soviet Pravda or something. And that restricts what gets into the whole media chain. So a place like KNON is really, really crucial. It becomes this window where you can get an independent version of things in an atmosphere where there aren't many windows like that. So please call us up at 972-647-1893. Give us a pledge and help us stay on the air. I work for the Dallas Observer, which is the other independent window. This show, Get Off My Lawn, is a radio version of a column that I write daily for the Observer on the Observer's webpage. If you just Google it, Get Off My Lawn, you'll get both this show on KNON and you'll get the Observer thing. On Get Off My Lawn in the Observer this week, we broke a story about Mary Soom, our city manager. And I have to give you some background. It has to do with, back in like 2006, these big oil and gas companies came to the city and said, hey, we want to pay you a bunch of money to drill for gas on city-owned land. And the city council kind of said to the city manager, we'll talk to him, see what you can get. At that time, the city was running a big deficit, needed money, and so this looked good. The gas companies, there are two of them. There's the huge one, Exxon, came back, and then a much smaller independent firm called Trinity East Energy. Yeah, I guess that's what it's called, Trinity East Energy. Anyway, they came back and said, hey, we'll give you $20 million each. $20 million from Exxon, $20 million from Trinity East to let us drill. And the city manager went back to the city council, and the city council and the park board said, well, this is great. We need the money, but there was a big concern about parks. You know, parks are just an incredibly important long-term asset for a city. People actually make decisions about where to live nowadays on the availability of parks. Parks are more important than they ever were. People like to get outdoors. Companies relocate based on parks. You see a huge effort in downtown Dallas to create more parks. Parks are really important. So the city council and the city manager, the city council and the park board said to the city manager, no, pursue this. See if you can get us this money. It's $40 million total, but no drilling in parks. The city owns tons of other land, and especially if it's away from houses and it's safe and so on, tell them they can lease them that land. But you got to tell them in this whole deal where you're negotiating the leases, no drilling on parks. And the city manager came back and said, okay, I got you. And that's stated explicitly in presentations to the city council, no drilling in parks. And the park board, in their resolutions and so on, always included that, no drilling in parks. So, time passes, and finally these companies are ready to go. The big one, Exxon, dropped out. That's another story. I can explain that later if you want me to. But the smaller one, Trinity East, that paid us $20 million, they came back and they said, we're ready to go. We want to drill in parks. And everybody said, to the city manager, you got to explain to them. No, we've said that from the beginning, no drilling. How'd they get that idea? That's a miscommunication or something. No drilling in parks. And the city manager came back and said, well, we need to talk to them about that. And everybody said, no, we don't. We told you no drilling. You told them. You told us. You told them no drilling in parks. There's no drilling in parks. So it goes to the park board. They want to drill in parks. The park board votes no. You can't drill in. We told you that. No drilling in parks. Now the mayor comes back and he says to the park board, you need to rethink this. You need to go back at this, reconsider. And everybody's going nuts. They're saying, well, reconsider what? Why would we reconsider letting them drill in parks? So, last week we found out why. The story that we broke in Unfair Park at the Observer was that a document emerged last week, and it is a signed deal, signed 5 years ago by the city manager with the gas company, saying, I will get you drilling in parks. Now let me go back and make sure we understand this. The city council told the city manager no drilling in parks. The park board said no drilling in parks. The city manager said, I got you, I understand, no drilling in parks. But at the same time, 5 years ago, she signed a deal with the gas company saying, yeah, I'll get you drilling in parks. And then hid the deal for 5 years ago. Now, about a year ago, the head of the gas company was getting frustrated. We interviewed him at the Observer. We did a Q&A, and he said, well, I got a deal with City Hall. I can get this if I want it. I got a deal with somebody high up. And we said, who? And he said, well, I'm not going to name names, which is weird. And so we immediately filed what's called a Public Information Act request. Used to be called Freedom of Information Act requests, or FOIAs. It's a legal demand under state law. The state law says if they've got a public document and a citizen or a reporter wants it and asks for it, they've got to give it to you, or there are civil and criminal penalties. So we said, we hear there's a deal between this gas company and the city, and we want to see any documents that have to do with this deal. And the city came back and said, no, we looked, no such documents exist. Well, that was last May. So this week, we get the document. And I should tell you, we get the document not so much through our own digging at all, but because City Council members Scott Griggs and Angela Hunt got the document. It's a little murky to me why they were able to, why it popped out when they did, but they got the document, and they gave it to us. And they said, remember last May when you said there was this secret deal with this city manager? Well, this is the deal. And indeed, there's this letter signed by D. Stephen Fort of the Trinity East Energy and Mary Soom, city manager of Dallas, saying that Soom would help them get drilling in parks. So now the mystery comes clear. This is why they keep going back to the park board and the city council and saying, you know what, you need to reconsider this. This is why the mayor comes back in and says, yeah, I know you just voted against this, but you need to vote for it. Because they know this deal exists. And the representative of the drilling company was very plain when I talked to him. He said, yeah, we got a deal with the CEO, Mary Soom, and we gave her a check for $20 million, and she cashed the check, and they spent the money. So, yeah, we got a deal, and yeah, we want what we did the deal for. We were told we were going to get drilling in parks, and if we don't get it, we're going to sue. Now, I talked to people in the kind of oil and gas world. I don't know if they know what they're talking about, but they said, you know what? Trinity East can make more money suing the city than they could have made drilling for gas. This is a hell of a lawsuit. And so that's why the mayor and the city manager are going back practically, wringing their hands with tears in their eyes, saying, please, let them drill in parks. Because they're afraid of the lawsuit. And they're afraid of, why are we afraid of a lawsuit? Because without telling anybody and keeping it a secret, the city manager signed a deal telling these people who just written us a check for $20 million that they could get drilling in parks. Now, the city manager, who always calls me back, I have a good I've known her for 30 years. I have great respect for Mary Soom. She's never called me back on this one. She called the news instead, the Pravda, the official paper, to give them her spin. And she said, oh, well, this wasn't a deal. This was just a letter. And the letter said that we couldn't guarantee them anything. So there was she was suggesting that there was all kinds of wiggle room in the letter. And by the way, and this is me talking, the letter does say that. The letter says, letter says we can't guarantee you that we're going to get this, but we're going to give it our best shot. But here's the problem. Yeah, there are wiggle words in the letter, but there were no wiggle words on the check. They took the check and cashed it and spent it. And so if they couldn't guarantee the outcome, what they needed to do was wait to cash the check, and go back later and say, oh, man, we tried and went through all the hoops and just couldn't get it done, so here's your check back. This is like if you and I go to a car dealer, and let's say you give the car dealer $20,000 for a car, and he cashes the check, and then he comes back to you and says, you know what, I had some wiggle words in that contract that said I wasn't entirely sure that I could deliver this car. You're going to say, well, that's a bunch of junk, but okay, give me my $20,000 back, right? When he says, well, no, I had wiggle words in there, you're going to say, yeah, well, I'm on my way to the district attorney because I don't care what kind of wiggle words you have. You can't take my 20 grand for the car and not give me the car. There's no contract in the world that will let you commit a scam and a fraud on me. So that's where the city is with this thing about the gas drilling. And that's why they're all in such a huge swivet. So it went back to the park board Thursday. And this was the what was it? Yeah, it was the very day that we broke the story of the Zoom deal on the side. And the park board went nuts. Their hearing was like, oh man, it was, like something out of the movies. It was crazy because people were so angry, both in the audience and although the park board members were trying to keep it under wraps while the cameras were rolling, they were upset as hell too. And they basically said, we're not voting on this. We're not voting yes, we're not voting no. We know it's on the agenda, we're supposed to vote, but we refuse to vote because we need to know what the hell's going on. We need somebody from the city manager's office, city council, we need somebody to come tell us what they are doing. And that's where all this stuff stands. And I'll get into it more in the next session. I want to remind you that this is our pledge week, and we very badly need your help. There are a bunch of ways that you can pledge money to us. There's some fairly painless ways. There's a monthly draft, or you can write us a check, or you can, I guess, bring cash or something, or we accept any kind of payment. But the radio station only stays on the air with your help. It's even though there's a very, very high level of voluntarism here, much more so than at the public radio station, there are still these expenses that nobody gets out of. It costs $4,200 a month, for example, just to lease the radio tower. $4,200 every month has got to be paid to lease the tower. It costs $2,700 a month for the station to pay its accounting and audit fees. Over $2,000 a month just for office rent. $1,600 a month for electricity. $1,400 a month for phone services. I could go on. The list goes on and on. But I'm just saying, this ain't free. This costs money. And we're completely dependent on you to call us up and help us with that money. It doesn't have to be huge. It can be. There's a $500 pledge that'll change your life because with it you get free tickets to all of these. KNON sponsors a lot all during the year of really, really interesting music-related events. The Observer voted KNON the best music station in the city, and you might wonder, well, how can that be? How can a community radio station operating with volunteers be better for music than these big bucks commercial stations? And it's because we get to play cool music, good music, great music. We don't have a list handed down from corporate overseers of stuff they're pushing. It's all about being independent. That's what gives this station its edge and its quality. And yet there's this bottom line that I talked about, and you're the one who helps us. Sorry about my cough. You're the one who helps us meet that bottom line and stay on the air. So give us a call, 972-647-1893, 972-647-1893, and we'll see you after the break.
KNON depends on listener support to stay on the air, and now is the time for you to help keep this show on the air. If you like what you're hearing and want to show your appreciation for great community radio, pick up the phone and call to make a pledge. Call 972-647-1893 or go online to knon.org. Don't wait for someone else to do it. Without the support of our listeners, there won't be any community radio on the air in North Texas. So take a few minutes to make a pledge. Call 972-647-1893 or go online to knon.org.
This is Sonny Boy Mark, and I'd like to take a minute here to tell you about over 60 minutes of great blues listening available now on KNON's Texas Blues Radio Volume 5 Blues CD. This is some great stuff, folks. 15 tracks from the Two-Tones, Blues Boy Bo, Betty Whittington, Andrea Dawson, Kirkland James, Sonny Colley, Johnny Red and the Roosters, the Chris Watson Band, the Rough Cut Blues Band, Jeff Stone with Charlie Love, David Millsap, Sir Loin and the Ass-Kicking Machine, Michael J. and the Paul Bird Band, and JJ and the Detonators. The 1,000 copies we made are selling fast, and we won't reissue it. Get yours now at Forever Young Records in Grand Prairie, Record Town in Fort Worth, and in Dallas at Bill's Records and Rewind Music. The CD is available as a download at cdbaby.com. All proceeds benefit KNON, sponsored by Forever Young Records. Vinyl copies available at Forever Young Records only. For more info on Texas Blues Radio Volume 5, visit knon.org. Your ears been bending for some blues? Well, feed them the real thing with Texas Blues Radio Volume 5.
You can watch Get Off My Lawn by going to the knon.org website. Click on schedules to the left side of your screen. Choose Get Off My Lawn's page. Scroll to the bottom of that page, then choose your favorite show to watch or download. This show will be ready for viewing by lunchtime Tuesday. Have a great day.
Jim Schutze, Get Off My Lawn, and we're talking about the secret side deal between Dallas City Manager Mary Soom and the drilling company to allow drilling on parks, and there's a bunch more of it I want to explain. I also want to remind you that this is our pledge drive week. Give us a call. Or our pledge, it may be more in a week. It's however long it takes us to get to our goal. Give us a call at 972-647-1893, 972-647-1893. I have a little selfish motivation in asking you to call. Last year, KNON chopped 9 shows because they just couldn't come up with enough support. It's volunteer radio, it's community radio, but everybody's got a bottom line, and the station only has so much airtime, and they got to put shows on the air that can at least help to pay their own freight and earn their way through the pledge drive. So I hope I don't sound like I'm whining. I am crying, but that's because of my allergies. But I'm asking you to support the station, support me, I guess, and support this show by calling 972-647-1893 to pledge some level of support. The station doesn't sell the list to anybody. They're not that kind of people. It's all live. It's all produced as you listen to it. That by the way, requires producers and engineers and people who know how to do this stuff, and they don't work for free. They're not born rich enough usually to be able to do that. They have to have a salary, and so I just the station watches its cost every way it can. It doesn't hire station executives and marketeers and stuff. It keeps it close to the bone, but it depends on your help. So please give us a call, 972-647-1893. We've been talking about this secret deal that we unearthed at the Observer last week, and I said that it was really the the pertinent documents were dug out by council members Scott Griggs and Angela Hunt. There had been rumors of this deal for a long time. We had even reported on the Observer last May. We did an interview with the head of Trinity East Energy, the gas company that wants to drill on Parkland, and he's told our reporter, yeah, I got a deal with somebody at City Hall, and the reporter said, who? And let me see if I can remember the guy's quote exactly. I'm not going to name names because I don't want to do that. Well, so when somebody says, well, I'm not going to name names, is he talking about Dallas City Hall, public transparent processes, or is he talking about some gangland deal? It sounds, I'm not going to name names. It sounds kind of scary, doesn't it? So now we know the name. The name is Mary Soom, and she signed the deal. By the way, I have kind of a... When this came out, there was a whole bunch of Soom hatred on our blog and elsewhere and at the park board meeting. I'm not comfortable with that. I've known Soom for a long time. If you're going to have a city manager, you probably don't get a better one than Soom. She's smart and very good at her job, which is a very tough job. She's doing her job. She is not the boss. She works for people. At the time she signed this deal, the mayor of Dallas was Tom Leppert. And remember, the city was in the hole. It was running a deficit. Leppert wanted to bail out and run for the U.S. Senate. And he wanted to posture himself as a Tea Party guy, which he'd never been. He's been all over the map. Leppert has a history of going where he has to go to get what he wants. But he wanted to come across like a Tea Party guy, so he absolutely couldn't allow Soom to ask the council for a tax hike to cover this deficit. And I knew, and everybody knew at the time, that Soom was under huge pressure to go scrape up any money she could get. So the interesting thing, and it was Angela Hunt who pointed this out to me, Councilmember Angela Hunt from District 14 in East Dallas. Back in 2008, the city council says to the city manager, yeah, you can enter into these gas drilling deals with gas companies. And that same day, she signs a deal with Exxon for half of it. But she's dealing with this other smaller company, Trinity East, and that deal doesn't get inked for 6 months. So something's going on, right? There's some kind of negotiation. Exxon was ready to sign the first day, but Trinity East, smaller company, can't quite, the $20 million is real money to them. They're antsy about it, and it takes 6 months to get them to ink the deal. They ink the deal the same day that Mary Soom signs her side deal with them to get them drilling in a park. So Hunt is assuming, they only inked the deal, they only wrote the check because Soom signed this side deal. And there's a kind of an assumption, this is all speculative, that somebody had Soom by the back of the collar saying, give them whatever it takes, get that money, bring that money in, so we don't have to have a tax hike. If you if you have to tell them whatever, tell them, sign whatever, get us that money. That's what it smells like to me. I don't think that Mary Soom runs around looking for secret deals with people, and I don't believe for a minute that Mary Soom got anything out of this herself. I think she was under huge pressure to bring money in, and this was a way to do it. And thought that these sort of wiggle words that were put in the thing, we can't guarantee it, but we'll give it our best efforts, would cover her. Well, fast forward to right now. I spoke to a representative for the gas company, and they're saying, you know what? We signed this thing with this woman we took to be the CEO, and we gave her $20 million. And yeah, we take the deal seriously. Soom is trying to say, in her spin through the Dallas Morning News, Oh, it was no big deal. It's just a letter. I said I'd help them out. And we tell people that all the time. Of course I'll help people out. Well, yeah, the problem with that is that they went to great lengths not just to hide the deal, but they probably broke the law in hiding it from us at the Observer last May when we gave them a legal demand for the document under state law, and they said the document didn't exist. That was a lie. And there are civil and criminal penalties for that. The Public Information Act is an act. It's a law, and it has penalties in it, and you're not supposed to break it, and you're not supposed to lie. The real message of the fact that they did lie and they did break the law to keep the thing secret is that they knew that this thing was poison, and they didn't want anybody to know about it. Remember, it's not just that they're hiding it from the Dallas Observer. They're hiding it from the Dallas City Council. They're hiding it from the Park Board. They're hiding it from these elected officials. The elected officials think that they're in charge. They think that the city manager works for them. They think that they can say, "City manager, no drilling in parks. You got it?" And she says, "I got it," which she did say. And the elected officials think, well, that's the end of it. We're the elected officials. We've spoken. That's it. But it ain't the end of it. And that's what this agreement shows. The city staff, I've covered these guys forever and ever, and I know some of them. And behind the backs of the city council, they refer to the city council as the summer help, kind of like the college kids who come to work at the hotel in the summer. They're not real workers. They're not really us. They're not among us. They don't really count. They come and they go. But we, the city staff, we're what really counts. That's how they view the world. And how do they survive? Well, they're not stupid. They jump to somebody's tune. They don't jump to the council's tune ultimately. They jump to the tune of certain guys. And that's how it's always been in Dallas. And back when Soom signed this agreement, the guy that she was jumping to was Tom Leppert, the mayor from the Dallas Citizens Council, installed by the Dallas Citizens Council, like our current mayor installed by the Dallas Citizens Council. That's who makes the city manager jump. And that's why she would have signed a side deal like this, I believe. And that's why, the park board in votes, this gas company comes to them and says, well, we want to drill on parks. And they say, no, we told you, no drilling on parks. They vote no drilling on parks. But the mayor, Mike Rawlings, steps up and says, you got to vote again. You got to vote to allow this. And it's because the mayor knows that there's this deal that the city manager signed. In fact, the mayor told, one thing I got to say for Rawlings, he winds up being pretty candid about things. And he told the Morning News this last week, I don't really think, and I'm not quoting him exactly, this is a paraphrase, but he said that it wasn't that he thought drilling on parks was a good thing. It's that he was afraid we were going to get sued. Now, he didn't explain exactly why he was afraid we were going to get sued, but now we all know we're going to get sued because we signed this deal that said that they were going to wind up being able to drill on parks. And as I said before, there's all kinds of talk back and forth. All of a sudden, everybody's a lawyer and a Supreme Court justice, and everybody, in the comments on the blog, everybody has an opinion about how this is really going to work. And in a weird way, the mayor winds up agreeing and Soom with the opponents to drilling, in that they're all trying to say this deal doesn't count. The Soom is saying, oh, it was just a little letter. It's like a Christmas card. We didn't mean anything by it, even though we signed it, dated it, put the city seal on it and had it notarized. It's just a Christmas card. So it doesn't mean anything. The mayor is saying, it's just kind of a offer to help him out, so it's not binding. The opponents to drilling are trying to say it's not binding because it was an illegal deal. It was not carried out properly, and that gas company can't threaten us with a lawsuit because this was a shifty deal anyway. Now these facts may change in the weeks ahead, but I think all of that is BS. Look, these guys from this gas company, they're not political science majors. They don't have to be Sherlock Holmes. They don't have to be Kevin Spacey in House of Cards. They're oil and gas guys. They wrote a check for $20 million, and we took the check, we cashed it, and we spent it. I don't care if it's $5. It's you take people's money, and you need to give them what they paid you for. But it happens to be $20 million, which is a bunch of money. And what the guy representing the company told me is that the reason they've been so much more aggressive about this than Exxon. Exxon had a similar deal, and they walked on it. And the guy who represents Trinity East said, yeah, Exxon walked on it because those guys were tired of getting beat up at the country club and looking bad. And Exxon can say, oh, well, $20 million is chump change. We don't want to hear about this out on the golf course anymore, so let's walk on it. And so they did. Trinity East is not the same size outfit. And the guy who represents Trinity East told me this is ruinous for them. If they can't do this drilling that they said they were going to do, they're out of business. They have no jobs. They're in the hole. All this money. They have all these. So this is serious money to them. Now, as I said a minute ago, I don't care if it's serious money or $5. If you take people's money, you got to perform on the obligation. You got to give them what you took the money for. Maybe you can give it back. You can't always just give it back. In the case of Trinity East, they went out and based a whole huge business strategy on the fact that they were going to be able to do this drilling. I don't know if it's true, but the guy claims they're going to be out hundreds of millions. Anyway, that's lawsuit business. I don't care about that. What I think is that we took their money, and this is an obligation, and we have to do something about it. We don't get out of this painlessly. The reason this is such a bad deal and a painful deal is because it's a bad deal and a painful deal. We don't get to stamp our feet and say, well, it's not fair that we have to pay that money back. No, it's not. There's nothing right about it. There's nothing good about it, but we took the money. And that's what's so terrible about it. What I want to talk about in the last section of the show is what this all really reveals about this system at Dallas City Hall, because it's one I've covered for years, and it is a buck stops nowhere system, especially when you want something back from them. And it doesn't just affect big gas drilling companies. It affects little people, even worse. It affects everybody. The hallmark of Dallas City Hall is that a deal is never a deal, and the buck stops nowhere. And if you want to give them a buck, they're lined up with their hands out. Yeah, hand it over. When you go back and say, okay, give me the thing I paid you the buck for, they're all pointing at each other. And you have exactly what this gas company is getting now. Well, the mayor can't really promise you anything because we have a weak mayor system. And it's all done by the city council. And the city council will say, oh, well, we're not really over that. That's all handled by the city manager. And the city manager is going to say, well, you know what? I serve at the pleasure of the council. Blah, blah, blah. This is like a bunch of guys who jumped out of a horse-drawn wagon to fix your driveway in exotic dress. And you gave them the money, and they didn't fix the driveway, and now you're trying to sort it out. That's what City Hall is. And that's what this situation exposes. We'll see you after the break.
The 12th annual Knon Mardi Gras Gumbo Party is coming to Poor David's Pub this Sunday, February 10th at 5 p.m. Are you ready? Defending the 2012 Best Gumbo title will be Louisiana Red against returning competitors Crawdads of Dallas and the Alligator Cafe. Joining the competition will be newcomers David's Seafood Grill, Jack's Southern Comfort Food, and the Freeman Cajun Cafe. That's 6 different flavors to savor in an effort to claim the title of Best Gumbo. Gumbo tasting is from 5 to 7 p.m., so get there early and get your taste on. Entertainment will start at 7:15, provided by world-renowned Papa LeBeau's Jazz Gumbo Band, and the event is hosted by Jim Bro of Monday's Cajun Zydeco Music Party. This is an event not to be missed. Advance tickets are available at knon.org, Bill's Records, and Forever Young Records in Grand Prairie. Who will claim the title of Best Gumbo this year? You decide at the 12th annual Knon Mardi Gras Gumbo Party this Sunday, February 10th, starting at 5 p.m. at Poor David's Pub, located at 1313 South Lamar in Dallas.
KNON would like to thank you for supporting community radio. Your donations continue to keep the voice of the people on the air. Did you know that many companies offer a matching donation when you make a pledge to KNON? Ask your company if they have a matching program. When your employer matches your pledge, KNON reaches its goal twice as fast, bringing you more of the music you love.
Hey, babes, I'll take one.
Jim Schutze with Get Off My Lawn. We've been talking about Mary Soom and the secret gas drilling deal and all of that and what it means. What this hour means here is survival. This is Pledge Drive, and we're trying to survive, and we need your help. 972-647-1893. It's not like we don't show our appreciation. You can get there's a whole list of stuff that you can talk about if you give us a pledge for $50. There's a yellow and gold T-shirt or a purple T-shirt with the KNON Mardi Gras design. Sorry about my cough. Mardi Gras beads, Mardi Gras shot glasses. It's a whole bunch of stuff. There's a huge thing you can get for $500, which is change your social life forever. I'm going to pause and take a call here before I go back into my blah, blah, blah about Zoom. Randy, how are you this morning? What's up?
I'm doing great, Jim. I was just telling Annie I heard her giggling in the background over the radio, and I said it's so much better than when you used to hear the pigeons over the radio when it was in the White House.
Yeah.
But anyway, the last statement right before you went off there was how a bunch of people came in with a nice automobile and some people jumped out with a buggy and took their money and then couldn't fix it or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that's really what it exposed. I think it exposed two evil criminal activities on both sides, because even if the city would allow a company to drill in public parks where kids play and all that stuff, especially with the controversial about fracking going on, that's evil intent or a destructive intent from their side also. So what it really exposed is two destructive intents at what? The expense of the public.
Yes.
So now that all this,
sure.
Now that you've said they've accepted the money and spent it, well, that's a contract in itself. Under any judgment in any court, as soon as that comes out, it's a done deal, no matter what was sent over or whatever. So now the question is it actually the citizens? Now it's all back to the citizens that have finally found out what their representatives have done.
Yes.
The citizens either got to stand shoulder to shoulder in physical being in these parks to prevent this from happening, just like they tried to do out in East Texas with that pipeline of the tar sands, or the citizens are not going to stand to protect the parks because of a deal that's a legality. That's the question that you are putting on the citizens today, right now. What are the Dallas citizens going to do? Are they going to protect their parks for their children and themselves, or are they going to lay down because two criminal intents? And the next question is Mary Soom's or Or is the Observer going to sue the city because they violated a federal law? Or is the Observer going to let them get away with it? And I'll hang up and listen to your response.
Okay, well, Randy, you asked a bunch of good questions, and to your last one, I don't know the answer. The sad truth is that they break this law a lot. We've been tough on them in the past. These legal expenses for us are a cost of doing business, and I assume that we will be tough on them with this too. You make another really important point, which is what are the citizens going to do about this? Let's just say this whole question about the money, I don't really know. You don't really know. We don't know where this ends up. There's a common sense. What you said, Randy, is absolutely true. You take that money and spend it. And by the way, Mary Soom already had this money in the city budget the day the check was written. So it was gone. It evaporated. You take that money and spend it. There's your deal. There's no wiggle room on that. But what are the citizens going to do about the parks? And what are the citizens going to do about Mary Soom and about this system? Because, I mean, what this shows, this is smoke. There's a lot more fire down there. They are peddling off crucial long-range assets of the city to pay short-term expenses rather than for political reasons. Now, the pressure is off a little bit because they're getting more money out of the taxes. But if the pressure's ever on, they will sell our grandmas to pay the freight and not let us know they're doing it. So how does this happen? I can't go through this whole story, so I'll give you a thumbnail of it, just to show you this is not all about big gas companies. I wrote about a young couple who bought a fourplex in Oak Cliff, and they wanted to redo it. But they knew that there was a bunch of zoning and historical stuff, and so they went to City Hall, and they said, what's the zoning? Show us the ordinance. Tell us we have a right to redo this thing. And City Hall said, sure, here's the zoning, we'll give you a copy. Here's the other stuff, we'll give you a copy. And here's a letter saying that you came and talked to us and we told you, yep, you got a right to redo this thing. So they sink their life savings, this is a business venture for them, into fixing this fourplex. Well, a city council member, not somebody who's not now serving, for whatever reason, a city council member who happens to have investments in real estate around there decides, nah, I don't want that thing redone. I'd like it scraped or go back to a single family residence. So the city staff does all this research, and they go back like 75 years, and they come up with a flaw in the deed way back there. And so they call this couple up and say, oh, the deal's off. You can't redo the house. The couple says, no, we've already done it. We borrowed the money. It's spent. It's redone. And the city says, nah, you're going to have to tear that all out. The deal's off. And the couple thinks, this is insane. This is crazy. This can't happen. But the city's got a floor full of lawyers. They've been around this block before, and they've worked it out. So they can do it, and if you don't like it, you can try to sue them. They are covered by all kinds of immunities, and they have a floor full of lawyers. So you're going to be suing them for about 10 years, and it's going to cost you way more than you put in the house. So the end of that thing was the couple just lost the property, and that's how it works at City Hall. The deal is never a deal. It's because no one is ultimately to blame for anything. No one is responsible. And so you look at something like this gas thing, and you try to say, well, whose fault is it? They're all going to be pointing at each other. So where is the point where the citizens of Dallas say, all right, we're going to have to pay whatever we have to pay to get out of this, but we're going to see to it that this never happens again. We want to have somebody down there on whose desk the buck stops. We want somebody we can fire. We want to be like most cities, where we can say to the mayor, who's usually where the buck stops. Okay, we don't want drilling on parks. We're serious about it. And if there's drilling on parks, you're out. We're going to vote you out. See, you can't vote Zoom out. And who else are you going to vote out? You can't even find the right person to vote out in this system. It's crazy. And that's what's wrong with it. And that's what this situation exposes. I'm going to pause again to remind you that this is Pledge Drive, and we need help. 972-647-1893, 972-647-1893. This is Jim Schutze with
Get Off My Lawn.
And we come here every week, 10 a.m. Saturday, and I would like to keep coming with this thing. I think it's a valuable opportunity to present you with information that you're not going to get anywhere else, but we got to have your help. 972-647-1893. Call us up and give us a pledge. I'll give you an example of the difference of what Knon brings you. So we exposed this deal on Unfair Park on the Observer's webpage last week. And of course I called the city manager, and I sent her an email, and in my phone message I said, look, we've got our hands on this deal. It looks terrible for you, and we're gonna put it on the webpage tomorrow. And I need to hear from you because I'm sure you have your own version of this, your own side. Zoom has always in the past called me back with stuff like that. And I consider it fair play that if I'm going to write something bad about her, I need to tell her in advance and give her a chance to give her side of it. Well, she never called me back this time. It's the first time it's ever happened. She never called me back. So what did she do? She called the morning news. And she put her spin on it out through the morning news. Now, the reporter she dealt with at the morning news, Rudy Bush, is a good reporter. And he did his best at getting the real story out. It's kind of in the last paragraph. If you read the morning news, I want to suggest to you that you read the stories upside down. You want to start with the last paragraph because that's where the truth is. But mainly, she got her spin out through the morning news, and that's how it works. That's why stuff like this on Knon is valuable, because this is the anti-spin. 972-647-1893. Give us your support. It's Jim Schutze with
Get Off My Lawn.
And we got Michael on one. Michael, what's up?
I was thinking of an alternative, what we can do. We won't see. I thought I heard you saying that it would be healthy for Mary Sue as an individual to be accountable. Was that kind of the gist of what I heard just now?
Yeah, I think, yes.
Yes, we love her, but we need her to step down. What would maybe an alternative be? Citizen petitions to the city council members? Are they who has the hiring and firing power of Mary Sue?
You know, really, you're absolutely right, Michael. You make a good point. Ultimately, it is the city council. They will duck it every chance they can. But they take calls from voters very seriously. They take people showing up down there very seriously. It doesn't happen.
Yes.
It doesn't happen enough, and when it does happen, it gets their attention. And
well, I've been there with Marvin Crenshaw and Al Lipscomb, and we've been running out of there together.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that would be healthy to organize citizen petitions before we appeared before the council as a documentation that there is widespread concern.
And if people get down there and say, look, all the stuff about the money and the lawyers and the contracts, that's legal business, fine, but no drilling in parks.
Oh, no, I'm opposed to oil petroleum drilling entirely, but I was speaking of the illicit deal aspect.
Yeah.
Mary Sue, not the petroleum. That's a moot issue. It's illegitimate. As far as Mary Sue and an illicit deal, I
Absolutely. And what you may have picked up from me, what sort of pains me in this is that I kind of like Zoom and respect her.
Yes, she has, on balance, she's pretty 50-50.
But her name is on this deal. Her name is on the deal, and I think, and they kept it secret. And I don't know how she can survive that.
Yes, that was illicit, and there needs to be an accounting by the formal supervisors.
And I can say 8 ways to Sunday, well, we're not going to get anybody better. They'll just find somebody worse. But that's kind of irrelevant, isn't it? I mean, we have to deal...
Is the best an enemy of the better?
Right, right.
But bless you, and that's what I want to encourage us to consider, is citizen petitions, organizing, the Bill of Rights Defense Committee, mostly American Civil Liberties Union members and staff organized to get the City Council to pass a resolution opposing portions of the Patriot Act. And the librarian said, when them cats come with their guns and their sticks and they want to know what you've been reading and accessing on the internet, we tell them.
Well, Michael, thank you for calling. I think you've made a very important point, and there does have to be a point at which in this process where we all say, okay, so you got this thing at City Hall that's impossible to understand. You can't explain it to us, or you don't want to explain it to us, and blah, blah, blah. Plus, we have lives to live. We can't devote our whole lives to this. But fix this. We need to call our city council members and say, we do not like it when you defy us. The voter does not like it when you defy the voter, when you do secret deals behind the voter's back and lie about it. And so we want some accountability. We want probably soon to go, and we want to talk about changing this system, but we want no drilling in parks. That's what we said. That's what you said. That's what you council members told us you were doing, and that's how it has to be. And don't tell us about lawsuits. You shouldn't have put yourselves in a position where you get sued. We're going to hold you responsible for that too, but that's not the point. The point is no drilling in parks. That was the public, that's an expression of the public will. That was supposed to be the outcome. That was supposed to be the bottom of the page, no drilling in parks. And you may also have picked up earlier in the show that so far, unless new facts emerge, I've got some sympathy for the gas company. They wrote the check. We took the check. I just don't think we get out of that. But we don't get out of it by saying, okay, drill in the parks. That's the wrong outcome. We have to have more backbone than that. We have expressed our will publicly through our elected representatives, and we can't just let people flake on us and pull the wool over our eyes and then give in to it. The giving into it is what's bad. So anyway, this has been, as I say, Jim Schutze.
Get off my lawn.
And that's pretty good, isn't it? Who did I sound like there? I don't know. Some guy.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, I'm great at that. Anyway, I don't really want you to get off my lawn. I want you to listen. I just, you know what I mean. You know what it means. And I hope that you will, in the next hour, call us up and give us some help. 972-647-1893. We need your help here at Knon. We need some money. Thank you. See you next week.
KNON 89.3 FM in Dallas and Fort Worth, the voice of the people.
Business owners, tell KNON's listeners about your business. You can put your business or event on KNON. KNON currently has space available to run announcements for you. Tell KNON's listeners about your goods, services, nightclub, concert, or event. Help keep the voice of the people on the air while putting your information on the air. KNON's been named the #1 radio station in Dallas by both the Dallas Observer and D Magazine. Put your business with Dallas's #1 station. Call now for more information at 214-828-9500, extension 227, or extension 233. For more information, go to knon.org and click on the Run Spots on KNON page. It's a great way for your business to support community radio while letting more people know about you.